This is the Creative Market Free Goods Roundup for the week of July 28th, 2014. There's 6 different free goods today, and if any of these look like something you want to pick up, be sure to check out the description, where I'll place links to each one of these 6 different free items. So I'm going to start at the top here with these 3 different free items that are available directly on Creative Market, and start with the Nautical Vector Pack. This package includes AI, EPS, and PSD files, so you can use it in quite a few different vector programs if you have one. And if I zoom in on these actual objects here, you can see that these are all drawn really nicely. These aren't like auto trace images, so all the edges kind of make sense, whereas sometimes auto trace looks a little bit funky. All the line work on these is pretty darn clean, and there's a whole bunch of different icons to choose from, all nautically themed. And there's also this right here, which is a brush, and it gives you instructions at the bottom right here of how to actually import this into your brushes palette. And when I did that, it actually worked quite well. So if I just zoom out a little bit here and use my brush tool to draw this little rope right here, you can see it does a pretty darn good job, and it looks quite realistic for a vector illustration of a rope. And you can also select it and change the actual weight of the stroke, and that'll actually change how thick the brush itself is. So overall, this is a pretty darn cool pack. I really like the style on some of these anchors. Like this anchor is really nicely drawn, and this right here is a really interesting kind of different way of handling an anchor. So I thought that was pretty cool. So overall, this pack is great if you have use for some nautically themed vector icons. There's a great selection where you could really combine and kind of use a bunch of these different things to create a scene. So this is a very cool pack, and if you think you'll have use for them, I would definitely download it. Next up is the Texture Pack Volume 2 Canvas. Inside this pack are 8 different canvas textures made from canvas and ink, as well as this overview image right here. So I'm just going to hop down and check out these 8 different textures. And as I'm scrolling through these, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can get a little bit better look at them. Also, I will, at the end of this, kind of show how these look applied to an actual object so you can see them a little bit better. And if I zoom in on the individual textures here, you can see they look a little bit fuzzy full up. So when you actually apply this to an object, it'll have a little bit more of a faded look than a sharp look, at least sometimes, depending on how zoomed in or out you are. And also, I think these would work really well for something like screen printing, as this should translate pretty well if you were applying it to an actual screen, since it would sharpen up soft edges when you actually output it to a screen, and everything's solid enough that it should translate really nicely, if that's something you're interested in doing at all. So I have this object at the top here, and I'll just quickly apply a couple of these canvas textures to it. I'm applying these with a mask, so I hit Control on a PC or Command on a Mac on the actual texture layer I want to use right here, and then select the object and use the layer mask, which is right here. It looks like a rectangle with a circle in the middle, and you can apply that. And then I just click on the mask itself and hit Control-I on a PC or Command-I on a Mac to invert it, and there you go, you have it applied right here very quickly on your object that you're trying to work with. Masks are super awesome because they don't actually delete from what you're working on. So I'll apply a couple different ones of these really quickly, and if you wanted to, you could even do the inverse here. It kind of makes an interesting effect when you actually have just the pattern showing of the texture versus the object itself. But there's a pretty nice diverse selection of textures here, and once again, I do think these would work really nicely for something like screen printing, and it actually looks quite nice once applied to an object. So this is a pretty darn cool pack, and it is provided in Photoshop, so all these are transparent and really easy to use. I just turn this on. Oops, I forgot a texture in the bottom here. I'll check that out really quick. So here's what that last one looks like as an overview. And you can also, as a different idea too, turn multiple of these textures on and kind of layer them and overlap them to see if you get some interesting effects. Something kind of play around with. So I definitely recommend checking this out if you need some more textures in your life, which most designers or illustrators do. And next is 10 Anchor Monochrome Patterns. This package provides the files as EPS and JPEGs, and they're all repeating patterns of anchors just like this. So I went ahead and repeated one of these just so you can kind of see that it does repeat well, and it does a very good job of it. So I'm going to very quickly kind of go through the different anchor patterns included here so you can get a good look at them. There's quite a nice and diverse selection of anchor patterns to check out. So hopefully this can fill a whole bunch of different uses, and even some of these like this almost looks like a textile pattern to me. It looks really cool in that way. You can even mix and match different icons from this pack if you so wanted to. And it definitely does a really great job of pulling off the nautical theme with a nice and kind of simple execution here, which hopefully you can apply to a bunch of different stuff that you're working on. There's 2 more left here. This is a nice little simple pattern right here, kind of like a ditzy pattern. Also, if you didn't want to, for instance, do these patterns as an anchor pattern, you could pop the anchors out and apply a new icon in there, or just use this pattern itself, which by itself is a really unique and cool pattern. So this pack has quite a few different pattern sets to choose from, and once again, you can go ahead and modify these too. If you don't want to use anchors, you can replace the icons or move stuff, switch stuff around, change the colors. Since it is an EPS file, you can go ahead and do all that. So this is a very cool pack, and if it looks like something you might get some use out of, I would definitely recommend picking this one up. And these next 3 free goods are available on Facebook, so all you have to do is click this button right here for free on Facebook and like Creative Market on Facebook. And once you do that, you can download them right on Facebook. It's super fast and easy. And next Next is caster catchword dividers. This pack is actually super unique because as you type different letters, it creates these dividers right here with words inside. So there's over 150 different word dividers in this pack, which is a pretty massive assortment. And if you type in a capital letter, it creates these wider dividers like these over here. And if you do lowercase, it has the thinner dividers right here. And these elements actually have these really cool textures going on both inside the words and around the dividers. So these have a pretty neat, unique style. And also included are these ampersands. So there's quite a few different ones. I'm showing 4 right here. So you can kind of see how these look. Actually, just the ampersands in the middle by themselves are super cool. I really like this one in particular. So this is a very unique and very interesting pack with over 150 different word dividers. It's a pretty huge assortment. And to see the entire assortment of these, so you can kind of go through them all, just go up to type and then glyphs. And inside there you'll see everything. And if I were to go inside this font really quick, and if you double click one of these glyphs, it'll just go ahead and paste it like it did right here. So a very cool pack with a really unique idea, and it's a smart way to use a font. And also as a little side note here, if you wanted to, you could even just create outlines for these elements here, and then you can go ahead and delete the word inside of these or place a new icon inside of these to add a little bit more versatility if you don't want to use these exact words but you really like dividers. So very cool, definitely recommend picking this up because it's a really cool idea that I think hopefully you can get a whole lot of use out of. Next up here is 5 abstract backgrounds. Inside this pack are 5 different JPEGs of the actual files right here, and if I go to image size, these are 2500 by 1750 pixels, so they're pretty darn big for hopefully whatever you want to use them on. I'm just going to quickly kind of go through so you can kind of take a look at the different ones. And these to me are very reminiscent of perhaps using the crystallize filter inside Photoshop. So it's kind of like I think how these were created, maybe not. But overall it has that pretty unique effect to it that crystallize kind of reminds me of. And also as something else you can do with these, like a lot of the color palettes on these are pretty darn neat. So if you wanted to actually just use these too as a kind of reference for different colors that may work together, it's kind of a cool way of doing that. You can just hit I on your keyboard and select them using the eyedropper tool and build something else out of that using just the color palette inside these. So these are pretty neat, and there's 5 different ones to pick from. So if any of these look like something you might want to use or have use for, definitely pick this one up. And last here is seamless striped patterns. This pack contains 24 different seamless wavy patterns in both EPS and high resolution JPEG files. So here's what the actual repeat itself looks like. And I went ahead and repeated it so you can tell that this pack does a nice job repeating, as you can see right here. I'm not going to go through all 24 of these since that's so many, but I will go through a nice little selection of them right here. Here's the blue harmony pattern, which a lot of these have really fantastic color palette choices, so that's definitely something to consider too. You can just use these as a very good reference on colors that work fantastic together, and that they do a really great job of portraying the idea of motion. The waves create a pretty nice optical illusion in a lot of these different patterns. So this is a really nice pack. I think a lot of the color choices are absolutely fantastic, and with these all being seamless, you can make them as big or small as you want. So that's always a pretty massive plus when you're trying to create a background or something similar. So definitely check out this pack if this looks like something you might want to use. And once again, definitely go through all the different patterns, if for no other reason than to check out how great some of the color choices are on these. So that's it for this week. And once again, if any of these items look like something you might have use for, just hop on down to the description and there'll be links for them there. And if this video is helpful to you, please like and favorite. And if you want to see more great videos like this every week, please subscribe. These videos will come out every Monday to let you know what's free this week on Creative Market. Thanks for watching.